if you can't hear what I'm saying. I couldn't even hear myself. This is the loudest sound you could possibly conceive. And, as it turns out, the cleanest. Now, the most amazing thing is that that cloud up there, which was generated by the engine, is just a mixture of hydrogen and oxygen. It's water vapor. And in about an hour's time, someone in Mississippi is going to get wet washing. It will actually rain. I told you. It's raining. That's unbelievable. Oh. NASA's playing God. It's making its own weather.
So y'all know how we have the waters warming up like insane? Do you think this has anything to do with it? Maybe? In Florida right now, the water is 90 degrees right at Clearwater. It's May. That's crazy. We literally already have them watching 3 storms that could become hurricanes. Here they are, if you notice, where 2 of them are starting. It's because this devastating scenario I showed you guys a few days ago. Quick recap, Hurricane Katrina, now anomaly, mega anomaly. Now, besides the anomaly that I've been talking about, I think it's worth looking into the undersea volcanoes because, for instance, Iceland is going freaking crazy now. And here's another shot of that. And so 2 days ago, we just had this anomaly pop up again on Venture Sky. I want you guys to notice this very, very straight line. A straight line signifies something not natural because there are no straight lines in nature. But you can see the wave currents going up into it, and you know what's right here. Funny enough, Venture Sky is actually going to completely remove this model. But why? Also, at the same time, we have India's capital hits a record-breaking 126 Fahrenheit in May. Definitely could be a coincidence. But now with all these catastrophic storms going on in the US, it makes you think. Really, really, really makes you think. And what's making these underwater volcanoes go off more than usual, or in general, all these volcanoes? 2024 is a very weird time. Like I said, this year don't go towards the hurricane. If a hurricane's coming, go the opposite way. And if you see 2 hurricanes turn to 1 hurricane, run.
So not only are we in the year of truth, with all these dark industry things going on, we'll get back to there, but I had to take a break from the dark industry a little bit. And I had to take a break from the dark industry just for a little bit. And get to, my other passions, and that's, being a conspiracy theorist, evolving by learning about all these different types of things and the things that are happening in the unknown and the secretive. So, my theory on, this climate change is that the governments, and not just our governments, but other governments, have, technology to incur these storms. Stay with me as we dive down this rabbit hole. I'll prove it to you.
What if politicians could command the weather? If they could create a powerful monsoon as an act of warfare, a whirling hurricane which flattens a city, or an endless drought which starves a nation? Terrifying, right? But what if we told you that this astonishing ability to manipulate the weather is not confined to the realms of fantasy?
Can these scientists fly into a cloud and make it give rain to a needy Earth when it would not naturally do so?
Weather manipulation techniques have a long history, dating back to the mid-20th century. In 1946, Vincent Schaefer, a chemist working for General Electric, conducted the first true cloud seeding experiment by aircraft.
The discovery that humans could really affect clouds was made by this American. Nearly 30 years ago, Vince Schaefer was in his laboratory making clouds. It was a hot day, so he grabbed some dry ice, frozen carbon dioxide, simply to help cool his freezer. But doing that transformed the cloud.
He dropped 6 pounds of crushed dry ice into a cloud in the Adirondack Mountains of New York. almost immediately snow began to fall.
Here's a record of a pioneer experiment. First results were not spectacular, but they have definitely proved that rainmaking is a practical proposition, and it's one we shall hear more of in the future.
In later experiments, Schaefer and other GE colleagues would discover that certain types of particles are more effective at helping ice crystals form. Silver iodide, they found, is one of the best.
We have evidence now that hail and other severe storms can be modified. I think the time is rapidly approaching when we will be able to no longer depend on the vagaries of the weather, but perhaps can do something about it. It may be easier to control the weather than to forecast it.
Obviously, cloud seeding is a useful tool in the fight against drought. There are already instances where it has been put to good use in this context. Facing the daunting UN prediction of water scarcity for 14% of the world's population.
I had to pause it real quick just to express this thought. You know, with this technology of cloud seeding, why don't they help Africa and, countries, such as the Sahara, the people and tribes that live there? Why don't they use this technology, create this rain, so they can have crops? Because it's all about control and money. That's why.
Population by 2025, the UAE proactively launched the UAE Research Program for Rains Enhancement Science in 1990. This initiative employs evolving technologies, including cloud seeding, to address the country's increasing water needs amidst this limited annual rainfall.
Some of these clouds, by nature, sometimes it rains, for example, only 40 to 50% of its rain that processed in the cloud that comes as rainfall. So by these operations, we try to increase this amount by, for example, from 15 to 30%.
Over the years, the project's effectiveness is noteworthy. For instance, in 2022 alone, 311 cloud seeding missions resulted in nearly 1,000 flying hours. This consistent progress underscores the importance and benefits of artificial rain in water-scarce regions like the UAE. While cloud seeding technology holds immense potential, it is important to acknowledge the existing challenges and concerns associated with this implementation. Cloud seeding does not guarantee precise control over the resulting weather pattern, making it challenging to determine its long-term effects accurately. The use of silver iodide, for instance, raises questions about its impact on ecosystems and human health if released in large quantities. To address these concerns, scientists are actively researching alternative, non-hazardous materials for use in cloud seeding technology. Edward Graham, a meteorologist at the University of the Highlands and Islands, UK, explains that simpler methods like salt flares have already been employed in places like the UAE.
In terms of the effect on the environment, cloud seeding nowadays, at least in the UAE, just uses salt flares, and that's what you get in table salt on your kitchen table. So there's no actual harm to the environment. Traditionally, chemicals such as silver iodide, which mimics the crystal structure of ice, have been used, but they're not used in the UAE today. In terms of carbon footprint, the planes that fly up into the clouds are just small planes, and when compared to the billions of cars on the planet and the huge planes doing international air travel every day, it's just a drop in the ocean in terms of carbon footprint and carbon emissions.
Furthermore, cloud seeding's potential to disrupt natural precipitation patterns poses risks to neighboring regions and ecosystems. Altering rainfall distribution can have cascading effects on water availability, agricultural systems, and biodiversity. Disruptions in the natural water cycle may exacerbate water scarcity in certain areas, while causing excessive rainfall and flooding in others. However, what is typically seen as a challenge in one context can become an opportunity in another.
Back in July, the Chinese Communist Party marked its centenary with a ceremony attended by tens of thousands of people on Tiananmen Square. Now, a report has just been released by Beijing's Tsinghua University revealing that the government artificially changed the weather for that event.
This dichotomy was not lost on military strategists. The strategic potential of weather manipulation, a concept that may sound like science fiction, began to take form. A seminal venture into this uncharted territory was a collaboration between the US Department of Defense and General Electric. The endeavor, known as Project Popeye. Conducted during the Vietnam War, the project's goal was to flood enemy supply routes by modulating rainfall patterns. This bold paradigm shift in warfare tactics served as the cornerstone for subsequent developments in the militarization of weather manipulation.
In China, they're waging war on the weather, a drought so severe they're firing rockets into the sky to make it rain.
China has taken weather manipulation to new heights, surpassing other nations in its ambitious pursuit. Already capable of artificially manipulating the weather over its major cities, China's aspirations reach even further. By 2025, it aims to extend its reach to modify the weather over half of its vast territory, a prospect that has raised concerns among neighboring countries, particularly India. China's weather manipulation capabilities also hold significant potential as a military strategy. With military involvement and a vast workforce, China has developed aircraft and anti-aircraft guns to manipulate cloud formations and precipitation. By artificially altering rainy conditions in border regions, a nation can impede enemy troop movements and logistics operations, effectively slowing down adversary forces. This real-time tactical advantage can be invaluable in military conflicts. The ability to control the weather, even on a localized scale, provides a unique element of power projection and can shape the outcome of military engagements. By altering rainfall and monsoon cycles, China's activities may disrupt agricultural productivity in countries such as India, Myanmar, and Vietnam. This raises the specter of rain stealing and strains regional relationships, highlighting the geopolitical implications of weather manipulation as a tool of power. Addressing the challenges posed by weather manipulation requires international cooperation and effective regulatory frameworks. Collaborative efforts among governments, scientific communities, and international organizations are crucial to ensure responsible and accountable use of weather manipulation technologies. As we witness in China's mastery of weather manipulation techniques and its grandiose weather modification program, the gravity of its geostrategic implications becomes apparent. The ability to shape regional weather patterns and potentially utilize weather manipulation for military purposes presents a formidable tool of influence. Yet, as we stand at the precipice of this extraordinary power, we must confront a profound question. Is humankind truly ready to wield the awesome and dramatic power to control the weather?
As satellites take their place alongside computers as powerful scientific tools, the meteorology of the 1970s can deal quite well with large-scale weather systems that develop over a few days. But the weather machine operates on many different timescales, from thousands of years for making or melting great ice sheets to the fleeting lives of individual clouds.
All right, put on your tinfoil hats. Climate change, I don't believe it's real. I believe that this is real, that governments and countries, even the enemies of the United States, can use this technology, cloud seeding. Even our own government is using that against us. Oh, let's stop there. Maybe I shouldn't have said our own government, but yo, let's be for real. We still have many clips to dive into in regards to this, but let me know your thoughts. Do you believe that, again, is this a divine intervention, or is it something much deeper and scarier?
Atmospheric science. What was it like when you cranked it up the first time? Full
It was stunning. I mean, it was it was chill.
Nearly 40,000 gallons of seawater fill this tank. House uses a computer program and a single 1,700 horsepower fan with wind speeds up to 157 miles per hour.
This tank is the largest wind wave facility in the world. We can generate an extreme Category 5.
House and his team want to understand why some hurricanes make landfall and fizzle out, while others become catastrophic.
It's the heat of the ocean that powers the hood. We know that gasoline drives a car, but if you didn't know how much you were pouring into the engine, you wouldn't know how fast it's going to go.
What this is going to help teach you is how the gasoline gets into the engine of the hurricane.
Hurricanes are experiments.
Oh, hurricanes was real too?
Good morning. This tank gives scientists and the rest of us a view no one has ever had before. What a hurricane's power looks like at water level as it storms ashore. In just 2 minutes, scientists here can take calm waters and turn them into a monster hurricane.
They can do what now?
The wind is gradually getting stronger and stronger as it's coming up here, and it's ramping up to a Category 5. It's probably about a Category 3 right now.
We use nature as a weapon.
This 75-foot-long tank is the first simulator in the world.
A laser could start the rain.
Pay attention.
You can almost use it to set it off. Matt Mills got into lasers as a kid. It's just innately cool. Now he's part of a team of scientists and military backers on the cutting edge of a new technology. We created a cloud of our own behind Matt's lab. A few months ago, Matt's colleagues in Arizona got this working experimentally. The next step is to get it to work in the sky. Particles in the air are rubbing together, forming static electricity, and the conditions are now right, and they just need to be triggered now. Does this concern you that you may be messing with Mother Nature and doing something that you don't completely understand up here in the cloud? I mean, I suppose that's always a danger, but we're not even near to the case where it could be dangerous yet, so not too much. It's almost like an on-off switch for a thunderstorm. That's the idea behind it.
Control the weather, stay woke.
There is manipulation taking place, and look at these lasers going off here, and it seems like they're guiding the storm into the Houston and Louisiana area. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket science to figure this out, but when you're looking at maps and you see these pulsing radar systems that are activating, and then you see these lasers hitting these storms and guiding things, you got to put 2 and 2 together. And so this is not natural, what we're seeing. Some of the storms are because of the ionosphere being heated up and having a lot more, photon light, but what they're doing here, this is not natural, friends. So keep an eye on that as well. I get a lot of people say, well, why are they doing that? Because the psychopaths that run this planet are trying to destroy the country. They're trying to destroy the food sources. They're trying to scare people. They're trying to keep us in a lower vibration. And that's what they're doing. It's sick, I know, but if you study these psychopaths, and they might not even be human, I've discovered, they might not even be human. Whoever's in charge and control, the AI, might not even be human. But, take everything with a grain of salt. But I'm just showing you there's serious manipulation taking place here.
That's another purpose of this channel, to explore all avenues of the darkness of this world, to include politics. Religion is a big one. We'll discuss that. And, society, the world, and the entities and the powers that be.
A little bit. It was too expensive. It's not efficient. Here's where it's also going to get controversial, perhaps. Cloud seeding is something that I studied in school for meteorology, weather modification. Back when I went to school, it was like I've poo-pooed a little bit. It was too expensive. It's not efficient enough. Well, guess what? When you get desperate and then technology gets better, 20 years later, here we are. Cloud seeding is ramping up so big. You see me there showing that flare on the plane. They send silver iodide into the clouds, and then it makes it snow more. So they can't make a cloud, right? But they're taking storms that are already there and then giving it a little boost. So that part's not new. What's new is they have hundreds of these ground cloud seeders. So they're actually puffing the silver iodide with a flare. And you see, I think I have a picture of the actual ground cloud seeder into the air. That thing sits all over the Rocky Mountains, all over the American West. 10 states are doing this. And I wanted to tell this story because my friend Russ is the state climatologist of Colorado, and he said, you've got to see what's happening with cloud seeding. It is huge, and it's only getting bigger by next year.
And we know that things can change. We saw it during the pandemic. There was, you know, the waterways in Venice cleared up.
That's right.
We saw what can happen when we're much better respectful of the earth.
Scientists and researchers are looking at how to change the weather on purpose. That's right. Lasers now could one day manipulate rain and lightning.
Scientists in Dubai can now literally modify their weather. This technology could change the world as we know it. In July of 2021, the United Arab Emirates National Center of Meteorology released a video showing a rainstorm that had been created using weather-modifying technology. How did they make it rain in the desert, you might ask? Scientists in Dubai used high-powered lasers and other advanced technology that were mounted to drones to make the rain fall from the desert sky. It should...
Cloud seeding. We're here in Santa Barbara County, home to one of the longest-running cloud seeding operations in the country. We've got some ground-based cloud seeding equipment right here, and we're going to get to hear all about how it works and see it in action. Let's check it out. Cloud seeding is the most common type of weather modification, and it has many different techniques and applications. Today, it's mostly used to increase rain and snowfall, reduce the size of hail, and reduce fog at airports.
Traditionally, cloud seeding has been done from the air,
We're here in Santa Barbara County, home to one of the longest-running cloud seeding operations in the country. We've got some ground-based cloud seeding equipment right here, and we're going to get to hear all about how it works and see it in action. Let's check it out. Cloud seeding is the most common type of weather modification, and it has many different techniques and applications. Today, it's mostly used to increase rain and snowfall, reduce the size of hail, and reduce fog at airports.
Traditionally, cloud seeding has been done from the air. So airplanes have had racks on them where these same flares are positioned on the airplane, and the airplane flies into the storm. So in order to reduce the cost to the client and reduce our carbon footprint, we've been able to station these on the ground. Now, we can do this in places where weather permits.
Behind a barbed wire fence designed to keep away curious cattle, the cloud seeding gear awaits the right kind of weather.
So these are referred to as AHOGs. That stands for Automated High Output Ground Seeding Systems. We've got three primary components of our equipment here. The first is the control module that you see behind me. Then we have our actual cloud seeding flares. The cameras for security. It also helps us observe weather conditions in real time and make sure that all of the equipment is operating correctly during a storm. Inside these canisters are the flares with the seeding agents. The canisters are used as spark arresters, so they prevent sparks from reaching the ground. So we pull off the spark arrestor, you can see the flare inside. The ignition of the flares are controlled from a control module that's behind us. So the white triangle there is a self-service modem, and then the solar panel keeps us powered. Inside we have a battery and then a control board. So the control board interacts with the software. We're linked or synced with the software in Utah currently, and that allows us to fire or ignite any of the flares from that remote location.
Because of the lack of clouds and proper wind conditions, today is not a good day for cloud seeding at all. But Garrett and his team are going to light a flare for us anyway, so we can show you how it works. There's just one small problem. The battery in the control module died shortly before we arrived, but it's nothing a little jump start can't fix. After a little juice from Garrett's truck, it's time to set off the flare.
The primary seeding agent in this is silver iodide. Silver iodide is a simple compound. It's polar in nature like water, so there's chemical properties that help attract water molecules to silver iodide. It's also structured molecularly similar to ice, so it helps generate or helps spawn the generation of ice buildup, and then that becomes a hailstone or a snowflake that falls here primarily as rain. So one flare like this has billions and billions of potential sites for that water to congregate around. We'll launch them in sequences. We watch the radar to see when bands of the highest concentration of liquid water are passing above us in the clouds, and we try to target those high concentration pockets in the storm systems. We'll launch between 3 and 20 flares for a typical storm. Once the flare is lit, it takes a little bit of time to carry up into the clouds, and once it's up at the proper elevation, it'll take about 20 minutes to instigate. the rain or the snow process. So overall, you're probably looking at about 40 to 45 minutes before you're seeing the maximum result. And that's why we're stationed miles away from our target area. So we have very specific targets that drain directly into major water basins, and we time these events to correlate with rain above those intended targets. One of the biggest questions or most common questions that we receive relates to the safety of silver iodide. Silver is biologically inert, so it will not interact in a negative fashion with plant or animal life. Iodine is actually a critical building block of a number of hormones in animals, so it is safe as well. In fact, if you look at table salt or baby formula, you'll see iodine in its molecular form as an additive in those commonly consumed substances.
But what about other potential adverse effects? Could cloud seeding affect communities outside the targeted areas?
Sometimes there is a concern about robbing Peter to pay Paul. So are we benefiting California at the expense of Nevada? And the truth is that storm systems, when they move over off the coastline, only about 10% of that moisture is going to fall in the form of precip. And we're looking at increasing that to about 11% because we have about a 10% increase in the natural storm's productivity. So going from 10% to 11% in California has an insignificant impact on the amount of precip that will still be available in Nevada or Utah.
Built into the program are kind of checks to make sure that we don't come across anything negative. When there are high-intensity storms, we won't seed. If the reservoirs are full, we won't seed. If the rivers are flowing a lot, maybe near flood capacity, we won't seed.
We hope that the conditions that exist right now will turn around and that we will not face the severity of droughts that we're facing, particularly this year. But a number of scientific articles are suggesting otherwise. And as we look into the future, we need to again consider conservation first. So the ability for us is to conserve how we use water and the ways that we store the water. And then layer on that efforts like weather modification and cloud seeding to help increase the rainfall that we do receive. It's very important that we take advantage of every opportunity we have to generate water in a sustainable way.
Can be a very beneficial tool that could be used for, countries that has limited rain, like the Sahara, Dubai, Africa, and so many other desolate countries that can't, grow crops or have no greenery. But this technology is controlled by those who have the money, the powers that be. So, of course, they won't use this technology to help their fellow man. No. They will want to charge their fellow man or cause destruction. What are your thoughts?
Shall propose further cooperative efforts between all the nations in weather prediction and eventually in weather control.
It's gonna rain in Dubai today, just so I know. I have to drive back from Abu Dhabi to Dubai. No. It's not raining. It's a sunny day. The UAE government invested more than $20 million in research to start a process called cloud seeding. The UAE performs around 1,000 hours of cloud seeding a year, and it's all controlled by this building in the National Center of Meteorology in Abu Dhabi, where they track the whole process. We met with a cloud seeding expert to explain how the seeding process works.
We wait the forecast when we have a good, chance for cloud. We send the aircraft to that location. Go under the cloud. In the first stage of the cloud, there is good updraft at that time. Start to release all the salt, and with the good updraft, of course, it will go inside the cloud. The droplets will become bigger and start to rain.
The center manufactures a salt substance that helps enhance rainfall. They put them in what they call layers. Is it gonna rain in Dubai today?
They already told us that they be making the clouds and they be enhancing the rain. Think about this. Y'all thinking about this shit? Wake up!
This is the loudest sound you could possibly conceive. And as it turns out, cleanest. Now, the most amazing thing is that that cloud up there, which was generated by the engine, is just a mixture of hydrogen and oxygen. It's water vapor. And in about an hour's time, someone in Mississippi is going to get wet washing. It will actually rain. It's raining! That's unbelievable! Oh, that's just plain God. It's making its own weather.
Did radio tomography with 30 watts, looking for oil in the ground. I found 26 oil wells over a 9-state area, and 100% of the time was accurate with just 30 watts of power beaming straight into solid rock. HAARP uses 1 billion watts, beamed straight into the ionosphere for experiment. Picture these strings on the piano as layers of the earth. Each one has its own frequency. What we used to do is beam radio waves into the ground, and it would vibrate any strings that were present in the ground. We might get a sound back like, and we'd say, that's natural gas. We might get a sound back like, and we say that's crude oil. We were able to identify each frequency. We accomplished this with just 30 watts of radio power. If you do this with 1 billion watts, the vibrations are so violent that the entire piano would shake. In fact, the whole house would shake. In fact, the vibrations could be so severe underground, it could even cause an earthquake. 1983, I did radio tomography with 30 watts, looking for oil.
So I'm sure everybody's heard of Operation Popeye. If you haven't, one of my very first videos I ever did was about Operation Popeye. You can go back and look at that. But beyond Operation Popeye, there has been a lot of other declassified projects and operations dealing with weather. And all of this information is true facts that you can look up online. You can see the original documents, and it's all true. None of this is my opinion, and this app doesn't like mixing history and opinion, so I'm just giving you the facts. Project Cirrus. Cirrus, like the clouds, went on from 1947 to 1952. It was ran by General Electric and was backed by the government. And they were looking into ways to disable deadly hurricanes. Project Skyfire. And this was done by the U.S. Forestry Service. And they were looking into preventing lightning fires or fires caused by lightning by reducing the severity of those storms by using cloud seeding. And they mainly did this using a cloud seeding generator. Project Sky Water in 1961, headed up by the Bureau of Reclamation, I'm probably saying that wrong. They were trying to prove the practical use of weather modification, specifically with tapping into the sky to get water instead of using groundwater. And then we have a huge project called Project Storm Fury. Project Storm Fury went on from 1962 to 1983. And it primarily focused on the modification of hurricanes. And they were trying to stimulate convection around the outside, around the eye of the storm, using cloud seeding and silver iodide. They studied this for almost 20 years, but it was a failure. And circling back to Project Cirrus, there was a massive failure at this project, or I guess maybe not a failure in their eyes. On October 13th, 1947, plane flew over a large storm and dumped 80 kilograms worth of dry ice into the storm. The storm subsequently swung 130 degrees to the west, swinging the storm right into Georgia and causing $2 million worth of damage. That's 1947's $2 million. They couldn't prove that their little experiment caused this storm to move the way it did. So I guess there's that. Remember, this is all historical fact. They've been messing with the weather since 1947, at least. Take that for what it's worth.
Hey, like you would think that this is rain, but it's not. It's actually the military dropping tiny fiberglass particles covered in aluminum and plastic. And the reason the military is dropping these fiberglass particles is because they use this to fool the radar into thinking that it's precipitation versus military planes. And this is a normal military exercise that happens all the time across the country. People were outraged. So they posted this saying, hey, we only post what we know. This is really happening. And if you want to know more about it, go to this article. So naturally, we go to the article. Is Chaff safe for humans and the environment? The government says, yes, probably. Chaff, the shreds of aluminum, fiberglass, and plastic used by the military to help trick radars, is considered safe, even though government officials concede research on the effect it has on humans and the environment is limited. I'm sorry, but in what world is it safe to inhale fiberglass coming from the skies?
This is going to become more than what they're thinking or saying, okay? Watch this. They're now reporting it on my news in my state already. When in the wind does that ever happen? Tell me. Huh? Now I'm going to show y'all why this is so they're interested in this. Because there's literally really something spinning right here. Already. And look back here. And this is going to be important in one of the models I'm going to show y'all. Pay attention. But look at that. Already. GFS model. Now I play around with this. Watch this. I fast forward it. Look, there's something right here too. See that go in? Now watch. After this goes bye-bye, look. Goes back down. That's the GFS model. CMC model. I also play around with this. Fast forward it. Pay attention to the time. Everybody pay attention to the dates. Yeah. Icon model. Obviously, that's Helene. Yeah, Icon's gotten it too. Oh, and this one may beat this one to Kirk. We'll see. Okay? Peace.
No, you budgied. I want to live. No, you're too heavy. It's a glandular problem. Ooh, Warlock. Chuds. Mole people.
There is no escape from the fortress of the mole.
Top secret CIA Weather Control Division, Dick speaking.
I mean pizza store.
Oh, it's you, Stan. What kind of favor?
All right, that wraps up another one for the HFC podcast. We just took that deep dive. It was a long dive into, who controls the weather. What are your thoughts after watching all these clips? Do you still believe that God, Elohim, he does control everything? But do you believe that these governments, our governments, and these countries are using this technology as a method of warfare? I mean, look what just happened last week with the tragedy of Hurricane Helene. As always, stay safe, stay blessed in these dark, deceptive times. HFC out. Peace.